Hi there, it's Nicole from Mama Elephant, and today I have a card showcasing the Monster Jam stamps and dies, as well as the Columbus Circle die from Mama Elephant. And I used a trio of these cute little monsters with greetings from the Monster Jam stamp set with the Columbus Circle die for my card today. I'm going to start with this 4 1/4 inch square of watercolor cardstock. I'm applying dried marigold and cracked pistachio distress inks to create the background here for my card. I'm going to blend these two colors together. I'm using a scrap piece of paper to keep my fingers out of the ink while I'm working on blending it. Once I have a seamless blend, I am going to spritz this with a little bit of water from a distress sprayer. It's going to leave some nice bigger droplets. Leave that for about 25 seconds or so, and then dry it with a paper towel to get the great distressed background. Make sure blot that nice and dry. Once it is completely dry, I'm going to use this large Columbus Circle die and die cut this. Now this die is amazing. It really only cuts that actual inside piece. The rest is all going to be great stitching detail. So it just is a really great die to highlight certain things on a card design. I am going to keep both the inside portion and the frame. There you can see the great design, because I'm going to be popping up this outside frame portion and have all of the design on the inside of this card. Now, I was kind of messing around with several different things, including that banner die, but I ended up not using that particular banner for my card here today. I am stamping all 4 of the monsters from the Monster Jam stamp set. And or 3 of the monsters rather. What ended up happening was the little guy with the heart I used for another card. This is the first card I created with the Monster Jam stamp set, but I've previously shared the other one. They're just a little bit out of order how I'm sharing them. But I stamped all 4 of the monsters and ended up not using the little guy with the tambourine, using the heart guy for another project, and then using the guy with the pencil and then the other little monster, and I stamped him an additional time to create a trio of monsters for this card. The little monster with the pencil inspired this whole design. I decided I wanted to do just a note, and of course that little pencil he's holding, which is as big as he is, works perfectly for the Just a Note design. I am coloring all of these images in with Copic markers. The colors I'm using are listed along the bottom of the screen. All very bright, fun, springy colors, very much inspired by the background I created with the Distress Inks and Columbus Circle die. I'm going to blend all of my colors out really well. Once I get the coloring exactly the way I want it to look and have my shading and everything down, which I did add a couple of different times after coloring the pencil first, I'm going to go in with my darker colors that I'm using and add some dotted detail to give the monsters a little bit of fun texture, plus use a little pink there, an R20 for the cheeks of each of the monsters. Now the tooth on the monster, some of the color blended into that little tooth, so I took a white opaque pen and drew over that so that the tooth was nice and bright white. The horns on the monster, again, I wanted them to be a contrasting color so they really popped, but have a little bit of that blue or aqua color as well. And then I die cut this monster because originally when I created this card, I wasn't sure how many monsters I was going to use or even which ones. I knew I wanted to use the guy with the pencil, and I originally kind of thought that he might be the only one I used on my card design. So I went ahead and die cut him, knowing I could use the other monsters I stamped for another project. And then I decided to go ahead and work on the greeting. And so I grabbed a banner from another die collection from Mama Elephant. It's a smaller banner that works with the Just a Note greeting really well. And I'm going to die cut that from vellum. I wanted it to really stand out so that the background could be seen through it. So I'm going to die cut the banner first, then take my greeting that says Just a Note, also from the Monster Jam stamp set, and on my acrylic block, I'm going to bend it so that it matches the shape of that banner. So I'm just going to kind of slightly wave my greeting. I'll do that on my block, see if it matches up, fix that, adjust it as I need to. Then I'll take a powder bag tool to that banner, stamp my greeting with some Versamark ink. That powder bag is going to help ensure that when I stamp the greeting, the embossing powder sticks, or the embossing powder sticks only to the stamped portion and doesn't migrate anywhere else. Go ahead and grab my white embossing powder, sprinkle that on, and then I will heat set that. At this point, I was messing around with the card a little bit, trying to decide if I wanted to keep it kind of like this, and I just felt like the monster shape was too small for my particular card. So I decided to color in a couple more monsters to add to the design. And I thought by creating a little trio of monsters, it would fill in the inside portion of that Columbus circle much better. Again, I took my color choices that I'm using to color in with the monster with the Copic markers from the background. So I've kind of got a teal monster, which matches that cracked pistachio, kind of an orangey little monster that matches the dried marigold. And then for my final monster, I wanted to create or color it in something that would complement and go with the other two monsters. So I went ahead and die cut him, again thinking that, maybe two monsters would work, and I really felt like it needed a third. So I went ahead and added a yellow monster. Using the colors here shown across the bottom of the screen for my little yellow monster guy, he is the exact same monster as the peach colored monster that I just created, or just colored rather. So once I get him all colored in, again, very, very similar, using about 3 shades per color, blending that out, adding the dotted detail, coloring in the horns with a contrasting color, adding a little pink to the cheek, and then going over the tooth with a white opaque pen so that it really stands out in case any of the ink bled into that area, which it did. Once that's dry, I'll go ahead and die cut that monster as well. I forgot to add the dotted detail to my peach monster, so I went ahead and did that at this point before going back in with my yellow markers and doing the same thing to the yellow monster. This is a really good example of a card that kind of changed as I started working on it. I added the little cute greeting that said scribble scribble up above the monsters, and now I'm going to go ahead and start attaching everything to my card design. So I'm just laying out my frame on a 4 1/4 inch square card base, attaching the middle piece. Then I'm going to take foam adhesive and place that on all 4 sides of my frame. Make sure that it's nice and secure. Peel off all that backing paper and then attach the frame to my card base. This would also make a great shaker card if you wanted to do that. I chose to just have a little bit of a dimensional card here, but I think a shaker card could be fun as well. I'll attach that there. Go ahead and grab my monsters, and I'm going to put a little foam adhesive rectangle on the back of each of these guys and pop those up in the middle too. So I'm going to start with the monster with the pencil, and then I will do the other 2. To give a little extra additional detail to the eyes on my monsters, I did take a black glaze pen and go over the eyes so that the eyes really pop, just like the teeth do with that white opaque pen. The last thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of liquid glue and attach the Just a Note banner. Just put a couple little drops of glue on each side. Position that right underneath the trio of monsters. Try to get that exactly where I want it to go, and then put something heavy on it to let it sit while the glue dries, and that it will finish up my monster card design. Thanks for joining me for the Mama Elephant Monster Jam Stamps and Dies. The supplies I've used to create this card are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos showcasing Mama Elephant stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.